day 2 of 7 of the daily photography challenge, and yesterday we started off this series with just a one lens only challenge and only using the Sony 50mm f1.2 G Master, which I'll be using throughout the rest of the week. But today we're turning it up a notch to level 2 and focusing on finding ourselves some shadows. So let's go. So for this frame, I kind of like the symmetry formed by the two warning signs. So yesterday I quite struggled to find photos because particularly I didn't really have a lot of nice light. Everything was very flat, so everything was a bit boring. And that is why today's challenge I'm going to connect on why shadows are very important in photography. So if you're wondering why certain photos or even videos, right, make you feel like you're right there at that specific moment or make you feel like you can step inside the frame, a lot of the times it's because of the light and shadow interplay. So shadows in an image can give that sense of depth, layers, or adds a sense of dimension within an image. And without them, it just feels very flat and boring. So try learning how to position the light sources and be creative with the shadows in the photo, and this can really elevate your photography game. So right now, I am exploring some public housing estates here in Hong Kong. And the reason is simply because I have a very cloudy sky today, so the light isn't really as strong, so the shadows aren't very dark, but it's a lot better than yesterday, so I'll take what I can get. So the reason why I'm in public housing estates is because there's a lot of open gaps in the sky, which I hope could create those shadow formations, and then I can just try to find compositions around them. So this is a very classic street photo shot, although probably not meant for a 50mm because you want something wider to include more of the floors, but pretty nice lighting. So you see the gradient from the shadows all the way to the highlights. So as you can see, if I'm indoors, I'm in the shadow area, and then behind is going to be the light. So that's one way to create some feeling of contrast and still have some light and shadow interplay, even though you have a flat sky. And just trying to shoot between the gaps of the windows and the light sources over there might create for some interesting effects. So hopefully we can find some. Shadows not only increase the depth in the photo, it can also change the way we perceive light. As a famous character once said, the stronger the light, the darker the shadows. And shadows can make the objects within the highlight stand out a bit more. As our eyes naturally notice the brighter parts of an image, you can play around the subject placement by putting them in areas of higher contrast, such as a lighter background against a darker subject. You can also use shadows to add a sense of mystery within your photos as you mask the details of the things within the shade. As I mentioned before, the only job of the photographer is to keep the reviewers looking at the photo for as long as possible. And this is a really, really powerful storytelling tool as you leave more questions to be asked for the viewers and you leave things to their interpretation and make them wonder and work out the things that you are hiding within the image. So the positioning of the light and time of day is really important in capturing some shadows because, for example, right now is middle of the day, so the sun is directly above me. So the shadows formed on the people or subjects are still quite short. So a good rule of thumb is to try and capture the light when the sun is a bit lower so that it will form some long diagonals in an image and cast some nice shadow patterns. So you may notice that if you are photographing in the same direction as your light source, then unless there's a very apparent difference between your subject and background, like contrasting colors, then they are going to be blending together and you will be left with a flat and boring image. So try playing around with the positioning of your light and see how it changes the contrast or shadow elements within your photo. Very, very strong tool in photography. Although to be honest, today I have very flat lighting, so I may have chosen the wrong day to do this challenge. But let's see what we can do. I find that there's a nice framing over here because you can see the lion rock framed by the buildings at the far end over here, but because I'm using just a 50mm, it's not wide enough. So I'm trying to include the kids playing around here and might make for a decent shot. So honestly speaking, even though I theoretically understand how to apply the light and shadow interplay concept, I have yet to come away with a compelling image that uses this technique. Especially in today's challenge, I don't have very good lighting, so I don't think I came away with any striking images from today. So it just goes to show that photography can be difficult sometimes if you don't have the right lighting. But that's okay. I mean, the purpose of the challenge is to be more consistent, going out daily, and show you the reality of the situation. I mean, I don't expect that I'll come away with good photos all the time, but we do try. Well, it seems that I chose a very good day to do a shadows challenge. There is no light at all. But as a last-ditch effort for today, I wanted to check out this hiking spot called the Pingshan Lookout Point and have that very nice backdrop of the Lion Rock Mountain, which I think could at least count as a backlight to submit for today's concept. So because the 50mm focal length is a little bit too tight for my liking for that particular background, I am going to take a 6-shot panorama and stitch them together in Lightroom. So I don't know if that's going to be cheating at a 50mm focal length challenge, but at least all frames were taken at 50mm focal length. It counts. So right now, as I wait for the city lights to turn on so that there's a little bit more foreground interest in the shot, the sky is a little bit opening up over there, so hopefully after a few more minutes that patch of light is going to extend towards the top part of Lion Rock, and that might be a worthwhile frame at least to end the video today. So hopefully you still enjoyed this video, and see you tomorrow. Thanks for watching.